Hello, everybody. This is Taj Hashmi wishing you a very good day from Toronto. Today, I'm going to talk about something very different, which nobody has pointed it out or talked about. It could be my maverick thoughts. And you may ponder that what I am going to talk about. This is sort of a taboo subject, could be controversial for some, but could be a plausible scenario which I'm going to draw today. And I'm drawing your attention and wholehearted support in a movement for peace so that Iran and all the countries in the Middle East and everywhere in the world can live peacefully. I want peaceful coexistence among nations between countries like Iran and Israel, Israel and Egypt, Israel and its Arab neighbors, India and Pakistan, and China and India. Everywhere I want peace. But ironically, that is not being possible. The prospect of peace is eroding fast. And because of one superpower, United States of America, I've got a firm belief that all the US presidents since Truman, including him, up to today, have been war criminals, with the exception, possibly with the exception of Jimmy Carter. Why I think that US presidents from Truman to Barack Obama and Donald Trump to Joe Biden and Trump again have been committing crimes against humanity and war crimes with various pretexts, excuses, and empty rhetoric. So today I'm apprehending one thing, that given the situation in the Middle East, in Iran and Israel, Israel is almost on the back foot due to heavy missile attacks from Iran. I'm sort of convinced that soon or eventually Israel might nuke Iran. Israel might use its nuclear weapons against Iran. And it could be possibly the second use of nuclear weapon against an enemy nation. Japan first, and now Iran second. But the days of Hiroshima, Nagasaki are past. Now, far stronger bombs are in the arsenal of nuclear-armed countries. Israel is one of them. And despite the rhetoric about Iran is becoming a nuclear power, we can't allow Iran to become a nuclear power. That is what we have been hearing for the last 20 years or more. What Barack Obama tried to have a nuclear deal with Iran in 2015 was scrapped by his successor, Donald Trump. And now, interestingly, days before Israel invaded Iran on 13th of June this month, US and Iran were talking at Oman and we were expecting an understanding between these two countries that there would be some denuclearization program in Iran. Interestingly, IAEA has issued a statement very recently saying Iran does not have any nuclear weapon. So much so, even Donald Trump's security advisor, Tulsi Gabbard, came up with the same conclusion. And then we heard Donald Trump disagreed with Tulsi Gabbard and the conjecture, the feeling across the world was that she was going to be removed. And then we hear that there has been some understanding, a rapprochement between Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump. So even insiders in America, some congressmen and senators, they have already singled out Israel as the biggest troublemaker in the world. But the official stand of the United States of America, irrespective of the Democratic or Republican Party, they believe Israel is defending itself and Israel is fighting existential war. Otherwise, Israel would be erased. Nevertheless, there is no proof on earth, anywhere, nobody can prove that Iran has already been a nuclearized country. Benjamin Netanyahu recently said Iran could develop 9 to 15 nuclear weapons in weeks or very soon. Or now we hear that Iran already has around a dozen nuclear warheads. Why am I arguing that while America and its allies, including Israel, believe that Iran is going to develop its nuclear weapon, why on earth, when that is the situation, Donald Trump has directed US military, its war machines, to withdraw from the Middle East and the Mediterranean region? Reuters, one of the most prestigious sources of news, Reuters made a headline on June 12, 2025. That headline is US to pull some personnel from the Middle East amid rising tensions with Iran. If tension is rising with Iran, why on earth Donald Trump or US administration would decide in favor of pulling its military and civilian diplomatic personnel from the Middle East? They should have intensified, they should have brought more troops, more guns, and more weapons to face the situation. In the event of a full-fledged war between Iran and Israel, America would intervene on behalf of Israel. On 17th of this month, Donald Trump abruptly left Canada, Alberta, where the G7 summit was going on. He went to the States and issued a statement that America would go to war against Iran in support of Israel because Israel is defending its sovereignty. Times of India, a prestigious Indian newspaper, titled one thing that amid rising tension and stalled nuclear negotiations, the US is reducing its diplomatic and military presence in the Middle East. Why? Paradoxically, this is what's happening. If Iran is becoming too formidable, posing an existential threat to Israel, America should intensify its military presence in the region. So, what America wants, de-escalation of the tension between Iran and Israel. And it favors regime change in Iran. Why? To perpetuate US and Western hegemony in the Middle East. Since Iraq and Syria have been virtually destroyed, and Egypt has been neutralized after Morsi. Now Egypt has a pro-Israeli, pro-American administration. Same is the case with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Oman. All of them have got US military bases in the region, even Saudi Arabia. But why are they hosting US troops? And why are they keeping mum? They are not protesting Israeli aggression of Iran. So something very ominous is taking place. But the popular perception is that Trump is not a warmonger. Trump won't invade any country. And this month's Foreign Affairs made a headline, cover story. The cover story is that the committee to run the world. Donald Trump's belief that US, Russia, and China would collectively run the world, would divide their zones of influence to de-escalate tension, and they won't go to war. War has been removed from the agenda. But what we are seeing here, the United States must have encouraged Israel to invade Iran while the US was engaged in sort of a talk to denuclearize Iran. So there is some hypocrisy, and it reminds me of the situation when in 1990, Saddam Hussein told the US ambassador, April Gillespie in Baghdad, that his country, Iraq, was having some problem with Kuwait and possibly would invade Kuwait. Then April Gillespie, the US ambassador to Iraq, said, verbatim, when two Arab countries fight, we don't have any opinion. That was very deceptive. It was sort of entrapping Saddam Hussein. In August 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, and the rest is history. We know that in early 1991, Iraq was invaded by US and its allies and was substantially destroyed, damaged. But Saddam was not overthrown in 1991 until he was there in power until 2003. So the agenda was plain and simple. Demilitarize the Arab countries and embolden Israel to become the strongest country in the region. So Iraq is gone, Libya is gone, Syria is finished. So only entity, Muslim majority entity in the region is Turkey and Pakistan. Iran used to be. Iran is the biggest problem, bottleneck for establishing US hegemony. This is as old as 1492, as well as when Columbus discovered India. It is as old as that, or even we can go back to the days of Crusades. The Europeans and Americans, afterwards they joined, they were discovered, are hell-bent on reducing the Muslim world into compliant, dependent, and totally toothless countries. They want to get their resources, plunder the resources, and keep puppets as rulers. So there are puppets in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Oman. All these countries are compliant puppets of the United States, or what they represent. So the world is now divided between America and those who are not very happy with America. Some growing power, rising powers. It is no longer unipolar. Now we know that China, Russia, Turkey, Pakistan, North Korea, they have emerged as potential rivals of United States and its allies. United States want to end this situation. That's why I believe that they might incite Israel to use nuclear weapons once for all to destroy Iran once for all. And this is what I think a very ominous sign that Trump is, on the one hand, withdrawing its troops from the Middle East, and then said that after 2 weeks, he will decide if to invade Iran or not. Meanwhile, the way Israel is going, it can't defend itself with traditional weapons and its Iron Dome and other anti-missile, anti-aircraft program. So, what option does Israel have? And Netanyahu has has requested the United States to intervene, but Trump is shying away. Trump is not doing anything and saying that after 2 weeks we'll decide. Maybe that 2 weeks is very vital. That could be a signal that, all right, we can't do anything about it. Do whatever you want to do in your self-defense. Because American thesis argument is Israel is not an aggressor. Even in Gaza, they have killed more than 55,000 Palestinians and seriously wounded more than 150,000 people. Still, the argument we hear from Washington, D.C. and London and Berlin and from other U.S. Western capitals, that Israel is defending itself by killing women, children, and elderly in Gaza. Same sort of things will happen. Gaza was the test case. 55,000 innocent, unarmed people got killed. Nothing happened in the world. Only we saw some demonstrations in the Western world and some smaller demonstrations across the Muslim world. The Arab countries did not allow any anti-Israeli demonstrations. And now we know Israel doesn't have the bunker buster B-2 bombers and the mega bombs to destroy Iranian nuclear facilities buried under mountains. Some people say there's 3,000 feet underneath the mountain. So possibly that can't be destroyed. But with nuclear weapon, anybody can destroy any country nowadays. If it is used against Tehran, the whole regime will collapse and Iran will virtually be destroyed. So Israel is being pushed against the wall. This is the argument warmongers can put forward. Though what could Israel do? Israel has been invaded, and even in 1948, when they forcibly occupied Palestinian land, the argument was that, they were establishing their right to return after 2,000 years. And Muslim world is indifferent and totally capitulated. They don't have the strength or the willpower to go against America, because America is keeping all these monarchies in power. Because the Iranian revolution not only used anti-Israeli rhetoric, but Khomeini and his successors have been telling that today or tomorrow we are going to turn Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE as republics. We are going to abolish monarchy. This is what the monarchs in the Middle East don't want it. And America doesn't like a democratic Arab world. Then they'll be raising too many questions and they won't be compliant, because they know the bulk of the population in the Muslim world, from Morocco to Indonesia, are anything but pro-Israeli. Iran's Islamic revolutionary government might collapse forever, and China and Russia or Turkey or Pakistan, they wouldn't go beyond issuing some statements. And meanwhile, I tell you one thing, I would be very happy if I am proven wrong in this situation. The scenario I am trying to portray here, could be faulty, could be too alarmist. But nevertheless, I'm not worried about my reputation, because Francis Fukuyama, who wrote a book, very famous or infamous book, The End of History and the Last Man, after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. And there, Francis Fukuyama, one of the best brains, one of the best political scientists in the world, he said, henceforth, the world would become a unipolar world under American umbrella, and everywhere democracy will prevail, including Russia, China, everywhere. But we know Francis Fukuyama was proven wrong. And all the analysts who have been saying that America will become a peaceful nation, especially after Donald Trump has been re-elected second time, world would be a heaven of peace. But we are doubting, we are questioning. Maybe United States or Trump would not invade Iran, but someone else, the mighty Israel, might do it, and America would again come forward and defend. Though this is what happened, they are defending their right to exist as independence. So with this, I conclude, and this is an alarmist scenario I'm raising. Nevertheless, I think we need to ponder, we need to give a second thought, and we need to give up complacence. There is no room for complacency, and nothing would happen. There will be peace deal, and they would sign a negotiation, but the signs are ominous. Israel is bearing the brunt of Iranian attack, and that Israel is too small. If Iran continues with this indiscriminate missile attack on Israel, eventually, if this war continues for a month or two, no building will be standing erect in Tel Aviv or Haifa or anywhere in Israel. So that's a dangerous scenario. Israel can be destroyed by Iran without using its nuclear arsenal, which it doesn't have. So without nuclear weapons, missiles and conventional weapons, Iran can wreak havoc on Israel. And that is what has become the most, has raised the question that will Israel use nuclear weapons? Is it going to nuke Iran? Unthinkable, horrible situation. I'm not giving the gory details about what might happen to Iran, but we know the bombs will be much more powerful than what were used in Japan in 1945. And Israel is about 2,000 kilometers away from Iran. Whatever fallout or whatever radiation would not affect Israel, and possibly some Iran and its neighboring subregions. Tehran is up north, not far from Russia. So part of Russia, part of Turkey, or even part of Pakistan and part of the Arab world could be damaged by nuclear invasions on Iraq. But we cannot simply rule it out. Israel would say that they need to defend itself. And to repeat, Gaza was the test case. Nothing happened. Nobody came forward to defend the Gazans. Donald Trump rather said, we will turn Gaza into a beautiful tourist resort. And his son-in-law was thinking of selling real estate property in Gaza to turn it into a holiday resort, tourist hub, and beautiful place. And Donald Trump said he would take the Gazan Palestinians, he would ask Egypt to take them. So the solution is very unthinkable, weird. I mean, a third country like United States is asking Egypt to take the Palestinians from Gaza, and they would turn Gaza into a tourist resort. It's like a fantasy. It's like a very interesting story, absurd story. But this is what we are hearing from the most powerful president in the world, from Donald Trump. So they have taken a decision. They would weaken the Middle Eastern countries, Arabs and Muslims, and they would do whatever they fancy, whatever they would like to do. They would continue with that. And there is an element of impunity for America and Israel. And that impunity has emboldened Tel Aviv to do something very drastic, which is possible, possibly not likely, or possibly very likely. We don't know yet. But I'm just issuing this warning to you people to do something to stop this sort of thing happening to Iran or anybody in the world. let peace prevail, let good sense prevail, and we collectively stop this sort of anarchic behavior. Mind it, the way the language Trump uses against Ali Khamenei of Iran. He said, we can get rid of Ali Khamenei today, but we are not doing it today. We will do it on time. Head of the state of America is warning the supreme leader, the virtual head of the state of Iran, that whenever he would fancy, he would get rid of him or he would eliminate him physically. That is what terrorists and gangsters do. So the world has become a domain of gangsters, anarchy, not rule of law. So state-sponsored terrorism is happening, especially across the Middle East. So I think Israel might become desperate, and America and its allies will condone, and the rest of the world would be witnessing the massacre of millions and millions of Iranians and the destruction of one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Let that not happen. We must resist it. But this is a warning I am giving to you all to think about it and to do something to stop it. Thank you all the best. Thank you very much for watching my show.